Okay, Assalamualaikum semua. Sorry, I just finished my meeting. Berapa orang? Baru 21 orang. Berlari saya kat sini. Okay, saya baru habis meeting. Okay, can we give me 5 minutes? Okay, everybody, can you give me 5 minutes? We will start about 4:15. Yeah? Waalaikumsalam. Okay, yes Azim. And then yang lain-lain tu Azli, Aiman, Natasha, bagi tahu kat kawan-kawan, saya rasa diorang tengah berjalan Okay, Syed, bagi tahu kawan-kawan yang CS 259A ke B yang ada kelas sebelum ni. Alright, beritahu kat kawan-kawan boleh join lah, yeah. Okay, we will start. Give me 5 minutes. Sekejap, yeah. Alright, thank you. Okay, siap. Slide. Saya share dulu. Sebentar you all tunggu. Sekejap. Supaya diorang tahu class is currently being helped. Alright. Okay. Alright. Tunggu sekejap. Saya off dulu sekejap. Camera off. Okay, while waiting, sorry, saya batuk ni, ya Allah, ya Tuhanku. Semoga cepat sembuh. Okay, while waiting, boleh pergi ke YouFuture. Okay, tolong tick kehadiran dekat dalam YouFuture tu. Alright, sebab itu yang saya akan guna untuk attendance dan sebagainya. Alright. About attendance ni pun saya nampak ada masalah sikit dekat you all ni. Alright, semua actually ni dalam setiap group, I do not know. Tadi pagi kelas session pagi pun I already remind them 9 Mei, saya tak tahulah apa berlaku kat 9 Mei sebab none of you yang tick kehadiran pada 9 Mei tu. Tapi rasanya saya tengok dalam list ni tak ada masalah apa-apa. Okey. 9 Mei balik daripada Tapi tak ada cuti ni, Mother's Day and then Wesak Day je 16 Mei tu yang kita tak ada kelas. 9 Mei should be attendance tu should be recorded, and on the 23rd May hari ni attendance, of course I nak remind everybody untuk pergi ke YouFuture sekarang untuk tick. Okay, you've been given, I already said 4 to 6. Okay, make sure ingatkan masing-masing, ingatkan among yourself. Kalau tak tadi nanti tak ada attendance, right? Dan saya consider tak hadir. Kalau tak hadir, tiba-tiba dipanggil pula untuk buat surat tunjuk sebab, that must be, that will be worse lah. Nak betulkan balik pun ada masalah kan. So kalau ada sesiapa yang untuk hari ni yang tak boleh hadir ke apa, boleh WhatsApp saya kalau you have specific any problems to attend the class during this 4 to 6. Please ask them to contact me. Yeah. Okay, tapi yang lain-lain tu untuk yang baru join kejap-kejap lagi bila I'm during my lecture, saya tak boleh ingatkan mereka untuk buat dalam YouFuture. Yeah. Okay, so we have about how many of you now? Okay, not bad. At 4:17. So dalam 41 orang kira ni sebab kita kena saya expect dalam saya ada 120 pelajar jadi tak ni sangat 27 campur 32 dalam 59. Alright. Okay, invite the others to join. I tahu macam masing-masing masih struggle berjalan ke college ke dan sebagainya. Hopefully before the class end, they join as soon as possible. Okay. Alright. Sekarang dah 4:18. For today, can I just proceed? Before that, boleh sesiapa volunteer to recite the doa for us first? Siapa selalu baca doa? Lupa dah. Abid Okay, ni Adib Nakwidin. Boleh baca doa?
Boleh, Doktor.
Okay, kuat sikit adik.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allahumma aftah alaina hikmataka wa yashul alaina min ghazaini rahmatika ya arhamar rahimin. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Amin amin ya rabbal alamin.
Amin ya rabbal alamin. Okay, thank you very much Adib. Okay, for today, okay, this is week 8 already. Pejam cilik. Kita dah week 8 dah. You only left with 14 tolak 8 dalam 6 minggu je lagi before the final assessment week. Minggu ke-15 sampai minggu ke-17, 15, 16, 17. 3 minggu is for the final assessment. Including for you guys semua pastikan the submission of the FYP and also untuk booth exhibition. Okay, untuk this semester presentation will be physical. Kita ada booth punya presentation, right? So that one I think nanti akan adalah your lecturers will explain and remind you guys about that. Okay, so just nak cakap kita dalam minggu ke-8. Itu sebenarnya. Alright, before I forget ni, saya akan start recording. Alright. And continue with my presentation. I hope that you guys can see my screen. Now I'm currently share my slide on chapter 7, managing project risk. Okay, it's quite long. We have about 37 slides for this chapter. Okay, I already shared with you guys again the chapters from the first day of class and also every week together with the link. Just to remind you guys, the link boleh tengok je instead of masuk Microsoft Teams tu. Saya nak make sure that it is to make yourself life easier. I provide the link and also the chapter 7. I'm hoping that we are doing a flipped classroom approach, meaning that you have to read first chapter 7 before come to the class. So hopefully when you join my class today, you are 20% ready and 20% understand. The other 80% we will cover, the other 70% we will cover during the class session, and 10% maybe you can at the end of the class, if you have any question to further answer your question, that will enhance your understanding. Selalunya I expect ada soalan tapi selalunya tak ada, right? So I assume you will get those 80% understanding, through this 1.5 hour. Mostly we will do now for 20 minutes already, at least 1.5 hour session of the lecture. Alright, so this week chapter 7. We have 11 chapters altogether, so only a few weeks left to finish up your lecture. And I hope again, just to remind you guys, walaupun sekarang ni kita ada lagi 1 minggu setengah saja untuk berhari raya, busy weekend, mungkin sibuk hari raya still, right? You have to start your group project. Make sure kena start, kena start buat dah daripada section 1 until section 8. Biasanya untuk proposal. Bisa project proposal. 1 to 8. And I encourage you guys to show first to your lecturer for tutorial session. Nak suruh tengok betul ke tak and so on. So I've been highlighting, I already highlight some of the ni. This is from the morning class actually. Alright, the highlight with highlighter, yellow highlighter ni. So this chapters is about managing project risk. I already mentioned, you already learned about the project risk from very beginning. Throughout the project, there are so many risks, and what you have learned so far from chapter 1 until chapter 6, what are the right tools, the methods can be used, the factors that you need to consider. Knowing those are one way of reducing the risk of the project failures. Memang apa yang awak belajar about the risk actually. So these chapters is to wrap up, actually bukan wrap up, is to refresh the idea what the project risk is about. Right? So having those background from chapter 1 until chapter 6, hopefully through these chapters you should be able to imagine that what are the planning framework, the whole concept of the project risk itself and how it relates to the implementation of the project planning. Alright, so kita akan tengok this framework as a guide. It's not only for your test for this course, but this framework will be used, okay, especially when you work later, when you do your when you are in the real working environment during your LI, during your real work later, all those things, this will be relevant. Memang akan do, these are the things that you will deal with your work later, right? And understand the framework, then you will apply the right tools. Okay, you know what are the framework, and you need to identify the what are the possible risks related to your project. Okay, knowing the possible risks, then you need to prioritize, you need to identify how to identify the risk. Risks ada banyak, there are lots of different risks. But every project might have a different risk. So there will be a tools, method that can be used in understanding all these risks, right? This is what we will learn today. And after you know how to identify all these risks, okay, you need to choose which most significant, which one is the risk. There are many 10 risks. Risk about budget, risk about the people, risk about the technology, about the timeline, risk about issue, challenges, itu be considered under the risk. So in order to prioritize all these risks, you might use a qualitative and quantitative analysis techniques. Okay, so it depends on how. If you have a quantitative, you know the trend, you want to know the analysis trend of the current risk of certain project. Okay, how many customer complain with your existing e-commerce, right? So you need to analyze all those quantitative analysis. Okay, you need to analyze the survey being done, analyze the sentiment, do the sentiment analysis in order to quantify your risk. Okay, so it involves a data analytic, kind of data analytics that is quantitative. Qualitative maybe more on the judgment itself, right? So knowing that, you already know what are the top 5 risks that is most significant to your project, then maybe you need to do the risk strategies. Macam mana nak cater 5 top risk ni? So you can use all these different approach. Okay, which we will learn later. Insurance, avoidance, you can do mitigation, all that risk. Okay, all that strategy. And after knowing, you list down what are the risk strategies, the action plan that you can do, and the action plan that you can implement. And of course, throughout the project, you need to do the risk monitoring and control to ensure the project can be completed in time and budget according to the scope and quality that been expected by the user. Right, and last but not least, of course, after the project completed, we will do the evaluation. Okay, we will do the evaluation, the post-mortem. Okay, post-mortem, what are the best practices that we can do, and then document it, which later the more experience you have can determine the success of the project. You as a project manager try to lead. Right, the more experienced team leaders, the more experienced team members, the better the future project will be. Right, so all those need to be documented. That is what project management is actually. Right, so hopefully at the end of the class at 5 o'clock, you should have the okay, related to all this. When project risk ni actually it might happen, it might not happen. Okay, risks are things that you should be able to be ready. Risk ni risikonya dalam hidup, in your life there are many risiko. You as a people, you go to class, risiko banyak. Okay, risiko nak tergolek, risiko nak kalau naik motor, what we call that, tayar bocor, the possibility. Duduk rumah pun kadang-kadang boleh terplay on, risiko. Okay, in our life there are many, and some we are not sometimes we take for granted, tak berhati-hati, itu semualah. Okay, risk of naik kereta, for example, risk of menunggang motor. Kadang-kadang kita tengok kejap aja, dekat je, tak pakai. You didn't do the protection of avoiding the risk of involving in kemalangan, any accident and so on. Tak pakai topi keledar and so on. Right? So sometimes those people who didn't plan on how to avoid that risk to happen, because they take that for granted, and also they might not understand the benefit of risk management. Okay, because risk, nama dia kan, berlaku tak berlaku, kadang-kadang tak payahlah, kita tunggulah bila berlaku nanti kita take action. For the time being, we need to complete the project first. Okay, that is not the way of doing things. You need to prepare, you need to prioritize, you need to be ready with the possible risk. Okay, so people who didn't plan is plan to fail, right? Due to not understanding, right? And also because they don't understand, they take for granted. Normally they're not willing to allocate time. Effort, time, because yes, true, maybe nak understand risk, nak letak bagi, lepas tu nak prioritize, nak buat time. Okay, some of the company they just couldn't be bothered, right? So berlaku, baru panic. Okay, not identifying and assessing risk using a standardized approach. Some people, they might have the risk, they know, okay, they know the risk, they do the risk, tahu, then they buat the recommendation, but they didn't use a standardized approach, meaning that the approach that they use when they do the analysis is not accurate enough. Kadang-kadang buat shot sendiri je, tak refer the expert. Okay, and also when they do the prioritization is based on the judgment, dan judgment people are not the ones that are expert in that. Dia pun first time doing, and then buat je analysis. They didn't do the study and so on. Okay, that might be lead to a failure in a project risk management as well, right? Okay. However, in order to do the project management, to identifying, to manage the risk, okay, it need the most three common things here. Okay, first of all, people, project managers. Okay, first of all, project managers, the team members, the stakeholders, people who have an interest in the project, okay, the direct interest in the project need to be committed. First, kena faham dulu, risk ni penting. Understanding, aware about the risk assessment is important. Then only when they understand, they're willing to commit. That is the challenges of the project managers to convince all the stakeholders that you need to do a certain risk management. Okay, certain risk management, later we will look into that. Apa, nak ambil insurans, insurans mahal kan? Tapi you need to be willing to take the insurance in order to avoid the risk of failures of the project, for example. Okay, and everybody who involved need to be know their accountability and their responsibility, because in order to complete the project within time, within budget, and within that fulfill the expectation of the user with a good quality project, everybody need to be responsible. Kena tahu, kena commit lah with that. And make sure that jangan pukul rata je. Different risks, different project might have a different risk. Alright? Okay. So this is the most some of the most common, effective and successful risk management. Okay, any questions so far?
No questions, Doctor.
Tak ada Okay, thank you. Siapa yang jawab tu?
Saya Dr. Adam.
Okay, Adam. Adam, apa khabar Adam?
Alhamdulillah, sihat walafiat.
Alright, dapat duit gaji dapat ke?
Dah besar lah Doktor, tak dapat
Kau tak
duit
dapat
dah.
Nanti Adam kalau singgah-singgah di sini, saya sebagai orang pertama yang reply kat saya, boleh collect duit
Alhamdulillah.
saya. Saya di pejabat TDHEA Adam Adam Isyad. Sekali-sekali
Okay,
awak
Doktor.
say hi lah. Saya ingat ni nama awak Adam Isyad ni. Ya? Tu cakap doktor, hari tu saya orang pertama yang jawab nak claim duit raya. Okay? Adam boleh datang Adam. Thank you very much.
InsyaAllah Doktor.
Alright, saya ada tiap-tiap hari Adam. Ide ni. Alright. Okay, so commitment by all stakeholders. Yang ni ya. Alright. So at first, okay, what are the risks itself? Okay, what are the risks? So the risk is uncertain event and condition. Okay, this is what I mentioned just now. It might happen, it might happen, it might not happen. But we have to be prepared. Okay, that is the most important. You have to plan. Kalau tak berlaku, Alhamdulillah. Kalau berlaku, at least we plan, you didn't panic, you can minimize the impact. Right? So some risks might have a positive or negative effect. Okay, the project itself, when you are, okay, the example that I used this morning, okay, when you already have a physical store, okay, but it's quite limited and so on. Now you need to invest in developing the e-commerce system, for example, right? The project itself is a risk because you do not know whether it will be success or not. You like it or not. Okay, since that if we are living in a digital world, okay, you have to put some money in ensuring that you have the virtual existing, okay, in a virtual world. Okay, so how success? That is the risk. Betul ke your e-commerce platform will be fully accepted by the people? Okay, that one is risk. Things that uncertain, but it might have a positive. Okay, or risk mostly might have a negative. People when you have a platform, maybe there will be a delay of the project. You need to add more money inside. Okay, you have people who have problem. Your programmers is a problematic kind of person. Okay, so that will be a negative effect to the project. Okay, whatever it is, like what I mentioned, planning is the most important. Okay, which normally will be lead to the whatever risk that you do, the assessment will lead to ensure that the project fulfill the scope, the schedule, okay, within the budget itself, and also it meet the requirement of the customer, okay, the user. All right. So basically, okay, saya bercakap daripada pagi ni one after another, meeting tak berhenti. Saya ada 4 things that saya chairkan meeting and so on. Suara pun almost gone. Alright. Okay, so in managing the risk management processes, there are 6 important process that is important in identifying, prioritizing, monitoring, and to evaluate the risk. These 6 things is the process, the stages that you involve. This can be done throughout the project. Okay, normally to create a risk plan, identify risk, alright, analyze risk, develop risk strategy. This is during the project plan itself, during the stages, the one that you do for your group project. Okay, normally we'll do these 4 things. And then of course to monitor and control and respond, that will be during the implementation stage. Okay, so we will look into detail what are the things that involve under each one of these. You create the risk plan first, you identify which one is important, and then you identify the risk. You analyze the risk, you develop the risk strategy and monitor the risk. And last but not least, this is more on with if the risk happen, how to respond. Okay, how to evaluate the project itself, right? So inilah stages-stages yang perlu. Okay, you as a team member project, later you will go for LI, industrial training. You will work with a project in the software house, normally will involve this project managing risk and so on. So at least bila orang cakap tu, you are familiar with that. Yeah? Okay. So what are how to create a risk plan? Alright, okay. So how to create a risk plan? Alright, saya tak payahlah baca ni. Saya nak suruh Aizat bin Muhammad Yunus. Can you read for us, Aizat?
Yes, madam.
Baca.
Okay, step 1, create a risk plan. Requires firm commitment by all stakeholders to the entire risk management RM approach. RM should align throughout the organization. Risk planning focuses on preparation, system and planning can help minimize adverse effects on the project while taking advantage of opportunities as they arise.
Alright, thank you. Okay, so what it means here? Create a risk plan. Okay, first of all, you have to, what need to be done? Understand what the project is about. What the project are about. And then you understand your project, understand how the project differ with the other project. Right? So what are the table to be used? What are the things that need to be considered? So that is a risk plan. Right? So you align with what you have, the organization have currently. Baca the previous project and so on. And then during that, you plan what are the systematic preparation, what are the template, what are documentation needed, okay, in order to relate with your project. Okay, first of all, create a risk plan first. Understand the template, understand your project, right? So then when you have that risk plan, okay, in order to further analyze the current with what the organization currently have, you need to come up with, you need to come up with a project risk identification. Okay, this is not what you need, you need to relate with the project risk identification. Okay, this project actually link common. These are all the common things, general risk framework apply to all project. It's not only project related to IT, it might be project related to anything. Okay, construction project can use this. What we call that, the service project can use this. Okay, the education project can also use this. Okay, so if you realize here, dekat sini, this conceptualize and initialize. What is this? develop project, charter and plan, execute and control, then you close the project, then you evaluate the project success. Does it sound familiar to you guys? These 5 stages. Ni projek apa sebenarnya? Okay? Alright. Kalau siapa yang tak familiar memang nak kena. Because this is the stages that we see in most of the chapters. Okay? This is a project life cycle. The project life cycle, project stages, right? A common 5 stages of the project life cycle, right? So for each stage here, normally we might have a different risks. Some risks might be common in all stages, but some risks might be dedicated. Okay, macam execute and control, ini budget critically in here. Memang very critical. Okay, when you close the project, maybe there will be a risk of user satisfaction. Okay, so it will be different, right? So understand what the project life cycle, understand what are the risks fall, the possible risks fall under each project, under each cycle. Alright, so knowing that, then there will be a classification of type of risk. Okay, ini dia dalam bulatan it might happen, it might not happen, and in a conceptual, sometimes that might be a known risk. Okay, in evaluate project, sometimes it is unknown. Dia macam boleh pusing-pusing all this circle diagram here, right? Based on the requirement of each stages. So there are 3 different types of risk. It is known risk, unknown known, unknown unknown. Okay. Known risk, you know the project that for example the known risk, awak tahu budget of the schedule. Awak tahu dah. The project we need to finish in 3 months. So that is known risk. Okay, you know every stages there will be a budget involved according to the project plan. So awak dah tahu. Known risk is you know the possibility of that risk to happen. Right? Selalunya project risk yang untuk keluarkan budget. Tahu stage 1 you need about 50,000. So risk of having that project 50,000 will be known risk. Right? Dapat tak dapat, itulah challenges of the risk. Okay. Unknown, known. Example as simple as the cost for the utilities. Right? You know there will be a utility cost that might occur at the end of the month. Tapi awak tak dapat agak berapa exactly the cost of that utility. The electricity punya cost. Bulan ni maybe higher sebab baru hari raya habis buat biskut, buat apa, buat lampu pasang. Okay. For example, you know there will be a utilities electric bill will come and it will be more than what your previous usage, but you do not know exactly how much. That is example of unknown, known. Detail tu awak tak tahu. Unknown, okay, you do not know that will happen. Okay, it might happen, it might not happen. For example, cyber attack. You know cyber attack exists, but you do not know it will happen. You do not know what are the effects. For example, okay, what type of cyber attack that might happen. Okay, kita nak avoid langsung, jangan berlaku langsung. Okay, that is unknown. Okay, but you have to be ready. Okay, in order to ensure the cyber attack might not happen, so you do the precaution. That is what managing project risk is. Okay, the most some of the critical risk and so on. Okay. So when you do this, these are the 3 steps. So we might, some risks are internal, which is uncontrollable. Some risk is external, uncontrollable. So meaning, for example, internal, your staff itself, you can control. Whoever didn't perform, because it will affect your scope and also the duration of the project, you stop them. Okay, meaning that berhentikan dia orang kerja. For example, external, it is something to do with the vendor itself. The vendor didn't perform, for example. Okay, it is external and not within your control. The government action that impose the taxes, for example, SST, tiba-tiba nak impose balik. Okay, sorry. Okay, so that will be an external. And this one, this is some common type of risk that might happen. People, legal normally from the government. Okay, process, the delay of the process. Okay, we need a business process re-engineer is not effective itself. The environment, the consumer itself, your customer, consumer and customer different. Correct? The environment, the technology, this might be external. The organization, the culture of the organization, the people inside, okay, that will be normally external. The product, okay, the one that the previous product, the existing product, okay, if you want to come up with a new software, okay, your software before, that can be the risk as well related to the product and other things. Okay, not only limited to this 6 items, 7 items, right? And of course, whatever the risk that you have to consider, of course, it will be related to this MOV. Whatever that you do, the implementation, your plan, your change of scope, it will be based on the MOV that you plan during the early stage of the project, right? And of course, MOV will determine the scope of the project, the quality, what kind of system that you want, the schedule that you plan, and based on the schedule, how much budget. The longer the schedule, the more the budget are needed. Okay, the more functionality you need, okay, the more budget are needed, the longer the schedule will be. Okay, this is closely related to the triple constraints that you learn in chapter 3 as well. Right? So these are the project risk identification. Any questions so far?
No, Doctor.
Okay, alright, thank you. Okay, itulah yang menjawab je yang tahu. Tasha ke yang jawab tu?
Ya, Doctor.
Kawan-kawan yang lain pun kita assume faham lah juga Tasha
Alhamdulillah.
Alright, okay, dah petang-petang ni okay, redor kan je lah Okay, and this is when you know what are the things that you need to consider, right? The steps to, okay, because there are lots here. Banyaknya benda ni dalam legal pun there are many things of many legal things that you need to consider. The privacy issue, the private and confidential, of course, the consumer issue, the taxes, the legal in terms of the tax that you impose, okay, the kind of ingredients that you need, the legal, the packaging kind of legal issues, okay. The legal itself, there are lots. Under the process, there will be a lot more risk. So you sometimes you cannot cater all. Okay, you cannot cater all. So what you do is you have to identify the risk through different technique. Okay, there are so many things happen, but you need to prioritize. In order to prioritize, you cannot main hentam promo sahaja. You need a a specific way of identifying and how to identify. Okay, this technique will help you to do that. Okay. For example, we will look into that later. Learning cycle is through experience. Okay, through documentation. Right? You as a most senior regarding the project in the organization. So you might have, you are the subject matter expert in that field. So you can use the learning cycle to identify risk and how that risk related to the project. Or you can do the brainstorming. Brainstorming, you get together everybody. Okay, everybody in the team, maybe there are 10 of you, do the brainstorming. Okay, ambil papan putih, brainstorm what are the possible risks that might happen. What are the things that we need to consider. Alright, so for example, as simple as people didn't perform. Okay, they are very critical. We know programmer, we have 2 programmers. Okay, if these 2 programmers are very senior, related to you, have been working with you, so programmers is not the major risk. So brainstorm. Programmer memang penting. Kalau hilang, habislah kita. Kalau dia stop, dia quit, habislah kita. But you have because you know their loyalty. So that one can consider not the main risk. So identify others as well. So you do the brainstorming. So the others, okay, there will be a further explanation here. So what are the identified risks? One of the techniques is through nominal group technique. Okay, can we have, siapa tolong bacakan for us? Okay, Fatin, Anis, Natasha. Fatin, are you there, Fatin?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, Fatin, baca Fatin. This here, slide.
Identification tools and techniques. Number 1, each individual silently write their ideas on a piece of paper. Second, each idea is then written on a board or flip chart one at a time in a round robin fashion until each individual has listed all of his or her idea. Number 3, the group then discuss and clarify each of the idea. Number 4, each individual then silently rank and prioritize the idea. Number 5, the group then discuss the ranking and priorities. Number 6, each individual ranks and prioritize the ideas again. Number 7, the rankings and prioritization are then summarized for the group.
Okay, thank you. Dah kan?
Dah.
Alright, thank you, but thank you for that. Okay, so as what we read by Fatin kan just now tadi kan?
Yes, betul.
Okay, so read by Fatin. Okay, this one when Fatin read, you can imagine. Okay, how it been done. Nominal group technique meaning that you have maybe if the project can be just in one group or it can be in different group. Okay, so individual, everybody in the group will participate. Okay, you present your idea in a writing, right? Just start to okay, what are the possible risks? And then the facilitator will collect and write it down on a flip chart, meaning that if the idea has been mentioned many times, dia tulis lah. Okay, yang tak mention, okay, dia fault. Dia yang dah is very unique risk, okay, dia akan listkan juga. And they discuss and clarify, and they prioritize, they cut cross some of the risks that might related, and they do the ranking. Okay, each one will be ranked, and if there is no consensus, they will repeat the process until they will get the top 5 risks that related to the project. Okay, that is one of the technique in identifying the risk. Okay, or or you can come up with a checklist. Okay, this is maybe a common. Okay, you just list again with your team member. All right, after after know all those, you can use the checklist risk things that might happen. Right, for example, risk of student not appearing, not join the class during this class hour. Apa possible risk? Okay, adakah pelajar doesn't have the internet? Where are they? The connections of the internet. They have the they have the link of the class. So in order to join the class, of not joining the class, there are possible risks that might delay you to join, for example. So I as a leader provide the checklist. Untuk apa lepas ni siapa yang tak datang, adakah sebab mereka tak ada dalam ni. Some of the thing is not been because they don't have factors, for example. Okay, they cannot commit with that whatever required in order for them to join the online class, for example. Right? So checklist normally come with the common what we call that the common factors that might happen. This is especially when the project, the process is a common process. For example, every project will involve budget, and every budget will involve procurement. Okay, procurement process. Bila nak beli dan barang. Bila you want to claim, there will be a checklist. People who didn't full the checklist might have a risk of not getting paid. Itu perlulah. So normally checklist is one of the identifying the risk itself. Okay. And for this project, maybe you have 15 risks. Okay. So as a team member, you just choose the risk that might close related to your project, right? And make sure you know what your project is about and how it will be related. Okay, tak semuanya you all kena pakai. Okay, just choose a related one. Or in identifying the risk, especially when you have a new project, when you come up with a strategic, the short term, the medium term, and the project, the long term strategy towards the sustainability of the organization. Okay, normally you might have a SWOT analysis. Okay, SWOT analysis is among the common one. Okay, common one that been used by the people. Okay, use SWOT analysis, which you identify what are the strengths, the whole team. Okay, do it in group. Identify the strength, weaknesses, what you currently have. Okay, what you do not have. Okay, strength, maybe you have a project team member who are very well versed. Your weaknesses, you are small, medium enterprises. The project is just started, you do not have a budget. Your budget are very limited. The opportunity, for example, because you have a strength, your people have the ICT, very competent ICT. So you see that as an opportunity to have to involve in a digitization of the product. So kalau nak buat product, buat software and so on, okay, so it will be a new opportunity for you. And threats, maybe it can be internal threats or it can be outside threats. Outside threat may be related to competitors, threats that might affect the success of the project. So you do you can combine a different approach. In doing the SWOT analysis, you can use the brainstorming. Okay, everybody brainstorm, sit together and list down all the strengths, weaknesses, threat and opportunity. From that, then you will be identify which are the most risks that you need to pay close attention to it, right? Or you can use this is a fish Ishikawa kind of methods. use a fishbone analysis. Okay, meaning that this is what the risk is. Okay, key project team members, this is the components that might lead the risk to happen. Okay, the better opportunity, the poor performance, or the people itself, because of the poor performance, they have a low morality. The poor team environment, very tension environment, datang kerja semua orang kena marah dan sebagainya, tak ada, lead to low moral. And job burnout, everybody got tense, right? Due to all these small sub factors. Okay, how it will be job burnout, how people can get very stressful because every day kena buat overtime. Balik dah penat sampai pukul 12. Pagi-pagi pukul 6 kena datang balik. Itulah rutin programmer, for example. Okay, so meaning that because they are job burnout, they might have a high probability for the team members to quit the job. Right? Okay, so these are one of the things, right? It can be in terms of cause effect diagram, it can be in a SWOT analysis approach. Okay, there are many ways of tools, techniques to be used. Okay, and after you use all those in identifying the risk, so now you need to do some analytics, some calculation in prioritize. Okay, risk assessment in assess the risk, which you need to do the prioritize. Okay, which one? Because your resources is very limited. Our capability pun, your effort, you yourself as a limited capability. Tak boleh nak consider semua, penat, tak habis nanti projek awak. So, you need to identify which one is the most critical. Okay, so how to do it? How to prioritize the risk? Okay, you have 10 risks, for example. So, in order to analyze the risk, to prioritize, to do the factors analysis, to identify the weightage of each risk, there are two ways of doing it. One is through qualitative approach, meaning that you use your own judgment. Okay, still it will be lots of different numbers involved, but when you identify, you use your expertise. Qualitative is more subjective, but in order to do that, maybe people who might be well-versed in the project. Otherwise, it might not be accurate. Okay, example of the approach will be expected value payoff table. Okay, it can be in decision tree. You guys are from CS259. Of course, you will be familiar with WECA and so on. Lots of software can help you to do the decision tree. All right, you can do the risk impact and table and ranking. Okay, this one is some example in chapter. The cognitive, okay, and also Tassler risk classification. So these are among the approaches that can be used. Okay, so kita tengok contoh yang among the most popular. It can be a payoff table. You do a proper table, and you already know just now previous stage you identify the risk already. Okay, maybe one of the risks will be schedule risk. So for each risk, you further analyze what might happen under that risk. So if schedule risk, for example, okay, here is schedule risk. So for each stage to be completed, for example, it may be it can be 20 days early, it can be between 20 days late. So dalam lingkungan 40 hari. Within that for almost a month. Okay, based on your experience, this is based on qualitative. Okay, based on your experience, you said that this e-commerce project might involve 20 days early to be completed. Okay, but the probability for that to happen is very low. The probability to happen. Kadang-kadang lah, if you are managed to get people, everybody involved, a very optimistic people to involve in the project. So you might get 5 probability for that to happen, 5%. And for this 5%, when you have a 20 days early, you finish 20 days early, you can get the payoff, the benefits of finishing early. Okay, penjimatan, for example, about 200,000. Right? So what are the impact of that risk, of that things to happen? Okay, so you based on your subjective, qualitative, you do the analysis. So project completed 10 days early, you think that it might be 20% probability to happen. With payoff is 150. And project completed on schedule, it will be 50% off, right? To a 50% to happen. Okay, you are most likely. Remember the PERT analysis last time, okay, CPM, right? It will be a most likely 50%. Okay, so 50% boleh the payoff, the penjimatan yang you dapat, it may be 100,000. But project completed in 3 days late, you think that it will be probability for that to happen is 20%. Tapi based on your experience, you think that 10 days late normally does not involve in many time, many budget involved because you already put some cushion. Last time we learned about the cushion, you put extra times and so on, right? Okay, that might happen at this stage. And the probability for the project to be completed within 20 days late than what the schedule is, it might be 5%. And you might lose about 40,000 money in that. Because to 20 days late, betul project tak siap, betul awak kena hire more people, so that budget will involve the increasing cost of another 50,000. So, based on that, based on the formula just now, mana formula tadi tu kan, probability times impact. Okay, you know that will be happen. What are the probability, what the impact? You just multiple this. 5% times 200, it will be 10,000. And the rest. Okay, then at the end of this, you just calculate overall. So the schedule risk for this project related to the schedule might cost about 88,000. So you might put some contingency reserve for this. Okay, tapi kalau boleh avoid, kita avoid. Okay, kita avoid and take some detail lah. Bolehlah jimat 200,000, but the probability will be 5%. So generally regarding the schedule, it might involve about 88,000. Kita tengoklah within the 20 days early and 20 days late. Right? Okay, any question related to that? Regarding the payoff table? Nazatul Ashikin ada? Nazatul Ashikin, are you there? Tak ada. Okay. Alright, Nazatul tak ada. Okay, Zurin Ashikin. Nazatul Ashikin tak ada. Do you have any questions, Zurin?
As for now, no, Doktor.
Alright, awak dekat mana ni? Dekat bilik Bilik kelas?
Saya dekat fakulti.
Alright, dekat dalam bilik BK27 37.
37. Sekali dengan Natasha Aisyah.
Oh, kat sebelah tu Alright. Okay tak kelas tu? Saya dah lama tak masuk. Okay tak?
Okay je.
Cantik kan? Okay lah kan? That is a new classroom actually. Alright, ada PowerPoint pun banyak kan? Okay, the rest you can join. Try tengok, mungkin next semester kita akan panggil balik everybody. So you are at the last semester kan? Use the facility. Good approach lah Tasha and Zurin to use that. Yeah. Okay, kalau bawa coffee pun boleh juga. Kita ada kukur kan kat tepi tu. actually
betul
and dekat student launch. Alright, okay. So another way of having it is you can do the analysis during the decision tree analysis. Okay, for example, regarding the testing. Okay, we want to know what are the risks if we regarding the testing, if we do full testing, okay, we might spend about 10,000. But if we do a certain testing only, so we can reduce 2,000, meaning that you only spend about 8,000. But you need further analysis. Okay, what are the risks of choosing paying 10,000 and what are the risks of just pay about 8,000? Okay, based on that, awak tengoklah pass the full testing, meaning that when you want to do when you do all those testing approach, you spend the money, and also for the project to be passed successfully by the customer when they do the pilot testing. For example, when you launch the project, the possibility to pass is very high, 95%. Okay, 10,000, you will get back that 10,000. However, when you do the final test, limited testing, the probability if the project fail is 70%. Okay, the project to fail is 70%, right? Which if the project fail, you do the estimation, you might need to do the retest the whole thing, and it will cost you about 13,000. Okay, so you do this analysis and show to your team, okay, whether what are the investment, what are the budget that need to be allocated regarding whether the successful of the project in implementing the project actually. Right. So this is one tool, and it can be here when you already have all these risks, threats, identify, list down everything. So use your judgment again with your team, do the probability for that to happen. Okay, so out of 10, 100%, for key project team to leave is 40. But response time not acceptable will be higher because due to your experience previously. Okay, this is the most current risk that might happen. Okay, so and also this one is 60%. Another one, the technology does not integrate with the existing application. On that, you list down the probability together with your team, and you list down the impact if that risk happen. So do a scale of 0 to 10, again based on your judgment. Okay, if this 10% might be low, but if it happen, impact there will be 9 out of 10, right? So it is sometimes the probability to happen is very high, but the impact is low. Okay, normally we will refer to how possible, how often the probability for that risk to happen. Daripada situlah yang kita akan ambil lah sebenarnya. Yeah, dan kita need to prioritize and focus. So based on the risk impact table, it shows that 4.8 and 4.2 regarding the response time and technology does not integrate is the most risk that you need to prioritize and consider and to be included in your project plan. Okay, so these are among the approach that you can use. Based on that, you rank and put it in your project plan and so on. Okay, so that's about the qualitative, among the approach related to the qualitative. And this one regarding the quantitative, this one is probably you use based on the existing data, the previous trend, different data, you have lots, you run the data, you study the probability for that to happen. For example, if previously you joined the e-commerce, e-marketplace of Alibaba, of Lazada and so on, the platform is very powerful. You pay certain amount of money, you can get the analytics, statistical analytics that been analyzed by the platform regarding your product. Okay, dia boleh analyse berapa lama customer pergi duk tendung barang awak, for example. They will provide you with all this information. So normally these are among the software and among the analytics and analysis that you can do, right? For example, using the probability distribution, okay, you can use software as simple as SPSS. You can use the statistical SEM. You can use SAS. Okay, so, SAS software. You can use what are the R. Can use combination of R and also Python. Okay, those are the analytics of the software available for you to do the analysis of trends of your risks that might happen. Okay, so if you use the, for example, yang pakai SPSS, okay, based on your survey about that risk, okay, customer what they based on the experience, for example, and based on their feedback, you can get, okay, is tengah-tengah ni memang ramai orang akannya a lot of people, but they are more towards very satisfied. There are more people towards not satisfied. And what are the issue that they face? Okay, so they will list down here. These are all the factors here. And some, ni ada outcast sikit. Outcast, meaning that's rare cases. Okay, it represents a minority of the feedback of your customer, for example, of your e-commerce platform, right? So normally, okay, 99% is within a 3 standard deviation. Okay, the most it will be within 68%, 95%, and overall will be between the here 99% of the data of analyze of the risk and analyzing. Okay, risk and okay, the third, this is you have learned in chapter 6 when you know you are at the third pessimistic approach, you are at the most likely, you are at the optimistic, and you do the third, you get the mean of that within these three kind of situation. Ini dah kita dah guna last time, ada contoh dalam your tutorial as well. Okay, how to do the to get the to identify the possibility of the duration, the risk of the project schedule, right? So that is one way of using it. And normally when you do the calculation for the cost analysis, the schedule analysis, for example, okay, normally it will be lead towards standard deviation of 3 maybe, okay, and it can be a more leans more towards here 7 ke 8, for example, 7 ke 8 hari, for example, right? Okay, so this normally the statistical approach, they can visualize. They do lots of visualization through the software that you use. So it make it easy, it based on the facts and figure, right? So again, it depends on what kind of project that you are dealing and what kind of risk that might be involved in that project, right? So you can use a Monte Carlo, you do the simulation of the risk using this software. You can go for the Monte Carlo, you can use the Palisade software. Is a free online, okay, for the limited, but with the limited access, right? Okay, so this is one of the example. It can be the different risk analysis here. The probability for that risk to happen. Okay, daripada sini baru nak tahu, okay, nampaklah risk yang ini the most common to happen within your project example, right? So basically they will do the graphical visualization of the risk. Okay, and it can be based on the cumulative probability distribution. I encourage for you to go search when you are actually for your project. Maybe you might not go in depth how to critically analyze all risks. Basically, what I ask you to do, your lecturer asks you to do is just list down what are the possible risks that is the most common risk in IT project and come up with the solution, the planned solution that happen. But how to do the analysis, not yet. Kami tak ajar lah due to the limited ni. But I expose to you guys first that in identifying the risk, there are many software that you can learn. Okay, this one you might if you're involved in a project later, okay, especially in a financial analysis kind of environment. You are working in a bank, you are working in insurance company, they do a lot of risk analysis. Okay. Okay, you can use the tornado graph itself, the probability of that risk to happen. Prepare this report. Okay, based on the coefficient, standard coefficient analysis of the data. Basically, awak key in and you run. How? It shows you, like what I mentioned, the visualization of the probability of that risk to happen. Right. Okay. Okay, we might towards the end, cepat pula saya ini. Any questions so far? Any question? Let me choose. Siapa yang ni? Zaris Najiha. Is Zaris here? Zaris ada tak? Zaris tak ada. Sekejap how many of you actually 51? Patutnya adalah kot. Saya tak boleh tengok. Okay, Seymour. Okay, sekejap je Zurin Zurin nak balik dah ya? Dia dah jeling-jeling dah Tasha kat sebelah.
Tak.
Tak ada Okay. Sekejap Zaris Najiha tak ada Sedap nama dia Zaris. Mana? Zaris ada. Actually, Zaris Najiha is online. Tapi dia tak sahut panggilan saya Okay, I assume, alright. Itulah kena tanya balik lah kat Tasha, Aisyah. Tasha, do you have any question?
No question.
Okay, faham Duduk tenung slide daripada tadi tu. So 100% been absorbed. InsyaAllah, okay. Boleh menjawab dengan tenang dan berjaya nanti. The final assessment, insyaAllah. Alright. So when you know the analysis, the list analysis, prioritize and so on. Now you need to develop the strategies for this analysis. Okay, you do the action plan of this. Okay, you identify the top 10, right? You identify the top 5 risks for each one to happen. Zaris baru nak menyahut Zaris. Apa khabar Zaris? Dia gelabah daripada mikrofon. Hanani, Zaris is with you ke Hanani?
She's with me. Dia try buka mic kat phone, kat laptop dia tapi she tak boleh.
Okay. Tak apa. Okay, tanya Zaris, dia ada question tak? Hanani?
Ada madam.
Dia tumpang.
Tumpang ke madam?
Alright. Okay, I assume it's quite straightforward, and of course, you guys need to read through chapter 7 ni. Okay. Alright. So develop risk strategy. So after you know what are the risks itself, come up with the action plan. How to solve, how to risk. If it happen, what are the that you need to do? And in order to avoid also, what are the things that you need to do? So that what is the strategies important for you, right? So in order to come up with the strategy, first of all, of course, you need to to really understand the nature of the risk. How often, whether it's known, unknown, whether it's known, whether it's unknown, unknown. Okay, like what cyber attack. Maybe unknown, unknown. Kan? Might happen, might not happen. Tapi berdoa lah tak berlaku. So in order to avoid that unknown, unknown, need to plan accordingly as well. Relate with the project objective and MOV. How critical it is regarding the triple constraint just now. What are the objectives of the project? How the likelihood for that risk to happen that might relate with the criticality of that towards the project MOV. Okay, kalau project MOV relate to financial, so of course the performance of the how fast the project the platform can react, can respond time of the platform regarding the e-commerce is very critical. When we talk about online, it's just about a few clicks away for the frustrated customer to move to another vendor. Lambat sangat website ni, kita pergi dekat website lain dah. That is how impact for that risk to happen. Okay, and also of course the project constraint in terms of the triple constraint project, the limitation project constraint, the limitation in terms of scope, schedule and budget. Sometimes what you know that risk might happen, but your budget is very low. So in order to identify, kalau nak ambil insurans, ambil lah insurans yang paling murah, for example. Okay, in order to avoid if that risk happen. Right? Again, it depends. And also how you can tolerate with that risk. Kalau happen, tak apalah orang berhenti. Biar je lah dia berhenti. Okay, kita ambil lah orang lain, another fresh graduate, for example. Take the student, a very good student, LI student, for example, right, to work, okay, with the limited budget. So when you want to come up with the strategies, understand these four concepts. Then you properly, when you know your limitation, your constraint, come up with the a thorough action plan. Okay. Almost finished, right? So in order, you already know the action plan is needed. So now you want to minimize that to happen. Okay, one is through exploitation, meaning that okay, tak apa. For example, the project failures of the e-commerce. Now many people fail about the project, fail in developing a good e-commerce website, but you want to take that as a challenge. You exploit the situation. Okay, so orang fail, tak apalah, bagus dia fail. So kita will make sure that our e-commerce platform will give a significant impact to the customer. For example, you take that as an advantage. Or if you cannot beat the competitors, if you cannot beat, you join them. Okay, you can do a joint partnership with your customer or also with your vendor itself. Okay, together. Okay, your supplier, why don't we do a consortium together, for example. Consortium macam koperasi besar. Okay, you do it in a sharing the ownership of the project and sharing the risk of that project. Or you redokan, you accept, your willingness to accept the risk to happen. Okay, for example, okay, we might not be familiar with the IT e-commerce platform, for example. Okay, but kalau fail pun tak apalah, kita ready kita accept aja, we do it together. Meaning that you accept, try and willing to face the risk. Okay. How to do that? Okay, one thing, if you accept or ignore, of course, you need to provide a contingency reserve. Kalau it happen, at least we have additional budget. Okay, this one I already mentioned to you guys. If your project is 100,000 budget, you allocate 20% of that budget for the contingency reserve. Okay, this is where the contingency reserve are needed. Okay, so meaning if the project is 100 times 20%, meaning that 20,000 will be under contingency. You need additional 20,000. So you put instead of 100,000, request for 120 of your 120 thousands. All right, for the contingency reserve for any contingency plans. Okay, it can be management reserve as a whole. The management itself have their own reserve. Malaysia, we have our own reserve under Bank Negara, and for each project itself, we might have a contingency reserve for that project, right? Or you can do the avoidance. Okay, you try your best to avoid, meaning that if you want to do the cyber attack, to avoid any cyber attack, so from very beginning, you install firewalls, you do the awareness, you keep reminding, you send memo to all your staff to not send any suspicious packet, email, try to do yes. All right, and you might mitigate. Okay, you do some kind of sharing as well. Okay, reduce the likelihood of the impact. You do the sharing, share the possibility of that to happen. Or the simplest, you do the transfer, meaning that you take, for example, car insurance, motor insurance. If something happen, let the insurance company pay for you. But this one again, it might happen, it might not happen. Okay, so the risk is not cheap. Of course, you need to allocate some money, but at least you have a peace of mind. Okay, try you know that you have some protection. Okay, so that what kind of protection, what kind of risk that you can negotiate, that you can accept. Okay, that is what the step 1 until step all those 6 steps that you need to do lah. And among them ni, how to monitor this step 5. Okay, the second last steps, you can do risk audits. How to monitor? One, maybe at the end of the project, there will be a risk audit. Normally, it will hired by an external. Okay, just to check whether does you follow the standard operating procedures of buying product, of buying a procurement, do a procurement of the new technology, for example. Okay, so this can be through the auditing, or you can do the risk review, meaning that through your monthly meeting. When you present, you do the monthly meeting within your team, within your sponsorship, for example, sponsor itself. So you can do the risk review, right? And of course, these two, normally you can do risk review, you can do the risk audit through do the meeting and reports. Under that meeting, then you can know what are the best solution, whether it's appropriate or not, or whether you can enhance, do another approach. Okay, through learning process, through the process of monitoring and control. So among the last, okay, after you know, you do the what we call that, monitor and control, and you can put, okay, you can put here, do some analysis towards the end. Towards the end, you compile all whatever challenges that might happen. You do it in a format like this. Okay, which together with your team, you identify what risks that already happened. How do you know, what trigger you Okay, to detect that risk already happened, who will be the owner of that risk? If the programmer dah ada test bug, okay, response time very slow, maybe programmer yang involved. Ataupun some of the functionality, some of the main functionality is not be included, maybe system analyst will be responsible. Okay, so what are the response being taken to solve that risk, to solve that problems? Okay, how much, who, how much, how long it takes? Okay, that are all resources required. Okay, ini soalan ada kami tanya dekat last semester punya exam actually. Alright, which we need to come up, we give you the situation and you need to come up with the risk response plan. Okay. Okay, last but not least, and after that, of course, you need to do the documentation. After you do all those risk response plan, there are many different lists that you have deal with. Of course, you need to document what are the lessons learned and best practices that can be used by the team for future project, or it can be used by another team for a future project. So this one, maybe you can come up with a knowledge management system. Okay, put everything together, put it in one place, which you can refer to. So this is another way of to do the documentation, and for the before you close the project, all right, normally you come up with a exit plan. Okay, exit report. Okay, exit report include the lesson plan and best practices. Correct. Okay, that's about the five stages of the risk management plan. Okay, managing project risk. Any question so far? Question? Ni yang lain tu diam je, terpaksa tanya balik kat Tasha. Tasha Aisyah, okey tak Tasha?
Okay.
Alright.
No questions.
Okay, clear kan? Mesti Tasha dah baca awal dah. Okay. Tengok intai je slide tu Alright. Okay, after this, make sure every one of you, okay, please spend about 20 minutes left to read through again. Okay, what are the things, and read this chapter for you to complete the part 8, if I'm not mistaken, section 8 to put in your group project. What are the possible risks that you might include for your project, right? Okay, thank you very much for everybody commitment and so on. So if there is no question, I just stop recording first. All right, and of course, see you guys again, right? And of course, you might have a physical class, right, with your lecturers. Okay. Tak ada soalan apa-apa. Thank you very much. Take a good care of yourself, right? Dan of course, kalau ada soalan nanti boleh tanya personal message me, or you can ask dalam group lah. Yeah? Okay, itulah. Zurin dengan Tasha bagus, dia ni di represent. Amirul pun. Yeah, Amirul. Okay. Alright, thank you very much. Bye. Assalamualaikum.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you. Tasha, internet
Thank you,
connection
Doctor.
okay dalam tu? Yes, thank you Azim.
Okay sangat.
Thank you,
Tinggal
Doctor.
Doctor MBPS.
Thank you, Doctor.
Bagus. Yes, Aina dan all, make sure pergi dekat YouFuture, click your attendance there. Kalau siapa yang tak klik, memang walaupun you are afraid that we consider you as not, kalau saya memang tak sempat nak tengok buat through my MS team dan ni kan, pergi dekat YouFuture. In case you forgot to do that, please remind each other to inform me. Saya akan manually record. Okay? Okay, bye. Assalamualaikum.
Salam.
Waalaikumsalam, Doktor.
Ya, waalaikumsalam.
Salam.
Yes.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Doktor.